everyone, I'm Lauren and I'm the Student Engagement Assistant from the International Center, and welcome to our first open conversation. Today we'll be talking about cultural differences and life in Halifax. And this is my team of executive members from different cultural societies. So if you don't mind, can my team please introduce themselves one by one?
Hi, I'm Stephanie, and I am president of the Dalhousie Arabic Society, and I come from Lebanon.
Hi, I'm Mary Kale Tullen. I am the co-president of the Dalhousie Southeast Asian Nation Society, and I'm also the peer supporter at the International Center.
Hi, I'm Fuki. I'm from Japanese Society.
Hey, I'm Sadra. I am Iranian, and I am the president of Dalhousie Iranian Student Society.
Yep, so that's the team, and we're all international students here, and so open conversations is all about having open conversations. So as international students ourselves, we will be sharing our experiences and tips and tricks you should know to make the most out of your time at Dal, Halifax, and even being away from home. So this is a 5-part series where we will touch on food, language barriers, finances, and many more. So stay tuned for upcoming sessions like this. If you do have any questions throughout the session, do type them in the chat box, and we'll address them at the end of the sharing. And do remember that this is an informal session, and we won't be answering any immigration or academic questions. And we're just all students here to share our stories and get you acquainted with the funs of being an international student. So if everything's all good, we'll start with giving the floor to our executive members, and we'll start with the first question. So for my team, what would you define your first Haligonian experience? So for everyone here, Haligonian is a term we use for someone who lives in Halifax. So what would you define as your defining moment for everyone?
Well, I'd say the seafood. I've never had lobster back home, and then coming here and seeing all the different varieties of shellfish, especially lobster, which I absolutely love.
Yeah.
It was insane to me that they actually ate lobster here because I've never seen a lobster in my whole life. And the Nova Scotian experience, the Haligonian experience, is like food related. It's really based on seafood, and I absolutely love that.
Nice. Have you ever seen the really cheap lobsters at Superstore at one point, and they were just like maybe $13, and everyone was gonna grab them?
I have, yeah. And it was always fun just looking at the tank and all the lobsters crawling around.
Yeah. What about Fuki?
Well, for me, I guess it was like walking around waterfront. That's like I'm living in city. I mean, like I used to live in city, like with we have ocean, but it's not that clean.
Mm-hmm.
So like walking around those areas was very nice.
What about Mary?
I think my first Haligonian experience would definitely be the weather, because weather in Halifax is very unpredictable. Like I remember one specific day where it was snowing, raining, and then sunny at the same time, and you experience that in one day. So that's really how Halifax is. You would always have to like carry maybe a raincoat in your bag just in case it rains, or you have to look at the weather forecast first before even getting out of your house. So yeah, that's my Haligonian experience, my first one.
And about my first Haligonian experience, I could say, well, I was in Gerard Hall the first year I came at the dorm, and with my friend, my roommate, and our neighbor, we just went. First, we went to Point Pleasant Park and walked a little bit over there, and then walked all our way towards downtown, and in the Citadel Hill area, which was just and also coupled with the weather at that time, because it was beginning of the fall, but it didn't really lose its summer feeling back in 2017, so it was like really pleasant. And also the downtown of Halifax, like it may seem like a little bit smaller, but the structure, the like the infrastructure is like just so cozy in a way, like
Yeah.
you can kind of like the I'm not gonna, compare it to like Champs-Élysées in Paris, but it kind of is like that, the paved walks, where don't cars come in, and you can walk in, around the Scotiabank Center, and also the very friendly people that are there, in downtown, it was always, really lively, and I really liked that the first time I came, it was really enjoyable experience.
Nice. Thanks for sharing. So we're going to move on to the second question. And as international students coming from a different country, what are some of the biggest shocks, cultural shocks you had when, coming to Canada or even just Halifax in general?
I'd say a big cultural shock with me would be the people. Although the people here are very nice, they're very kind. People don't really tend to talk to one another or strangers on the street too often. It's not like back home where you could just walk and then everybody who's a stranger just talks to you and then you can have a conversation for like 5-10 minutes and then you figure out you're related somehow and it's pretty funny. But yeah, here you can have a conversation with people, and I find it less common though than back home. So I guess that
Okay.
was a shock for me.
I think that's interesting because for me it's the opposite, where when I came here I found everyone greeting each other and I was like, whoa, people are opening doors or even like saying hi and like stopping, and back home everyone's just like focused on walking. Like streets are just meant for walking. So I think it's a very different like spectrum, I'd say.
Mm.
That's very interesting to know. Anyone else?
As for me, I think the biggest cultural shock was definitely the public transport, because I was raised in Dubai, so we had metros, taxis, buses, and it was a very big city. But when you're in Halifax, you can get anywhere if you walk. So from Dal campus, study campus, to the waterfront, I think it's about a 20-minute walk, and it's quite a refreshing walk too. So uh, that was one of the culture shocks. I was like, I can just walk anywhere, get anywhere by foot. I don't need to get on the bus. But there were times where I did need to get on the bus because my campus was on the Sexton campus. So yeah, that's for me.
Well, for me, it's kind of related to Mary's one, but like even buses and like whenever we have meetings, someone will be late. Like that's how Canadians are. So, well, like I'm Japanese, so like Japan, we really care about time. Like we need to be specific about those things. So for me, that was a little bit shock, but I think it's actually a good thing. Because like, you know, it's like it's not that stressful.
Mm-hmm.
Like when I'm in Japan, I'm a bit stressed with those things. So yeah, I guess that one is for me.
Interesting. Sadra?
And well, my culture shock, I would say, well, the first time I came here was like, communicating a little bit, because I mean, I knew like I had a couple of like English courses like in Iran before coming here, But when I came here, like I had no problem understanding and, you know, conveying the message that I want to say. But I felt like, you know, I could not, you know, communicate, you know what I'm saying? Like
Mm-hmm.
I couldn't really, like, you know, in with like with regards to, you know, making friendships or like making a deeper connection with someone just through conversation, you know, I didn't really find it easy at first, you know, because compared to, I mean, maybe it was just for me because back in Iran, I was in a all boys boarding school, so
Oh
I wasn't
wow.
around girls at all. So when I was here, and you know, we were in the same classes with all the girls, I was just like, oh my god, I didn't even know how to talk to them. I was like, oh, so awkward. And yeah, it was just, so it was a little bit that made me like a little bit less social, like in my first years.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but I tried to, in a way to combat that, I just, you know, tried to gradually, you know, just, you know, try to be more, you know, social. Like, you know, you make mistakes, you know, just say what's on your mind, you know, and just get past the awkward moments, you know. The awkward moment, like really, you won't remember it, and you know, you'll learn from it at least. Or, you know, some people even don't mind it, and you know, it's a way to, you know, not being afraid of, you know, being embarrassed, and you know, throwing yourself out there, you know, kind of really makes it easier as time goes by. So
Yeah,
yeah, pretty
I
much.
totally agree with that. Like,
Yeah, you'll get your way around communicating, you know.
yeah.
Yeah, if you just try, pretty much.
And on that note, we'll be having a session next week on language barriers, and we'll be talking about, you know, communicating as well, and how different it is, even if you do know English. You know, just different social innuendos, or even like just the accent or the speed. And so we'll be touching on that next week. So stay tuned. And okay, we'll move on to the next one. So, how long did it take for you to adapt to the Canadian culture, and what helped you the most? So I think I can go this time. For me, I've been in Singapore. We've been English is our first language, so we do speak English, but it does mix with other languages that we know culturally. So it's we call it Singlish. So it's a bit of mix of Malay, a bit of like Chinese dialects. So coming here and sensing the speed that everyone talks was so different. And I think just it took some time to get used to like the slow pace of Halifax and how everyone was greeting each other, asking how are you. And I'd say maybe 6 months. It does seem like a long time, but I tried to integrate myself with people I lived in res with. So I met friends from like Turkey, I met friends from um, Guatemala and America, and like all of us were going through the same struggles, and we were trying to navigate Canadian culture and slowly trying to find things that you know we could find home in and like go out together and find a community. So I think it took a while, but it once you get there, it's you realize that everyone's kind of just finding their place both in university and in Halifax. So yeah. What about you guys?
Well, in terms of language, it wasn't really too much of a shock for me because in Canada they speak English and French, and my country, Lebanon, it's a francophone country, so we also learned to speak French there. So that was very nice when I came here. I think the biggest cultural difference, which I found, was mostly the weather and the whole culture surrounding winter. Back in my country, there's not a lot of, like, for example, winter sports or winter food. And when I came here, I found it so fascinating that there's so much culture around winter because, yeah, winter lasts longer here for like 6 months. And it's just insane the amount of culture, like, for example, sports and food and even the styles of clothing that go along with winter. It's very, very different from back home where we hardly see the snow.
Yeah. Mary?
Yeah, so as for me, how long did it take me to adapt to Canadian culture? I came to Halifax in the fall of 2017, and that's when I finally realized that, oh, there's a place in the world that had 4 seasons, because as people in the Middle East know, there's probably only 2 seasons, summer and then the cold season, because it's just hot and cold for me, you know?
Yeah.
But it wasn't too hard adapting to it. Like with language barriers, I did go to an international school back in Dubai, so speaking English wasn't an issue. But as for the weather, I slowly got through it, even though people looked at me like, you know, it was winter already in the fall because I was wearing a very thick jacket because it was too cold. But you learn how to adapt to it, and you'll love it, because when you come to Halifax to experience the weather, you'll see snow for the first time if you haven't seen snow for the first time. And then you get over it because you're like, oh, I'm over getting snow for the first time. So yeah, that's what my adaptation to the Canadian culture was like. Yeah, and also the locals are very nice.
Mm-hmm.
Well, for me, like weather wasn't that big issue. Like I guess Japan has a bit similar. It's not that cold, but we have 4 seasons, so I guess it was easier for me to adapt the weather. But like talking about food, it was a little bit hard to adapt. Like I just started living with my other friends from March, but well, I used to live in residence, so I didn't need to cook by myself. But when I started living myself, it was a bit hard to adapt, like how they sell vegetables and meat and fishes. Like everything is so big compared to my country. So I guess that was hardest part. Well, I get used to it in like a month since I had to cook every day. So, but that was hardest thing.
Is it my turn now?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, so well, how long did it take me to adapt to Canadian culture? Well, the first year, like maybe throughout the whole year, maybe it was just like a, very gradual process for me. The weather wasn't, that much of a problem. I mean, Iran is also a four-season country, but, except that the winters are like, it's like, yeah, tenfold worse here, but it wasn't that bad. The first year I came here, the winter was like really rough, but then, I guess global warming, it just got like, yeah, it just yeah, like we weakened a little bit. Yeah, like, yeah, I remember first year that I was here, like we had at least like a week of like, snow, like yeah, cumulatively, like yeah, a week of, that the school was closed due to snow days. But then, afterwards, like last year, maybe it was what, like half a day or something. It was just
Yeah.
like, yeah, the winters aren't really that bad. So, just being in the area and, yeah, it's not really that much of a hassle. But, well, to the culture, well, what helped me the most was just, my friends, like, I tried to, because in Iran, it's like you didn't really have to, go out and find friends, just being around that, especially for me when I came out of high school. It's like, a smaller community. So like, when you're down, everyone's asking you, hey, what's up? How's it going? But here it's like, if you don't go out and, ask and, engage with people, nobody's going to do that for you. So you have to, really learn to come out of your own shell, form your, small group of friends, like, people you're comfortable with. And it's so good here because Halifax and especially Dalhousie is so culturally diverse. You meet people from all around the world. You get to, see their culture, like, just hear them talking about it. And my friends, like, I had a friend from Syria, I had a friend from Lebanon, I had a friend from Nigeria. And I was like, so that how much like, and like, cultural similarities we have, for example, between Iran, a country in Middle East, and a country in West Africa, Nigeria. And like, the things that you connect on, and, you form your small group of friends, or, however, you're comfortable with, depends on the person you are. And just, in your group of friends, you just, go out and experience, what there is, just whatever Halifax has to offer, whether it's at a hill waterfront, going to Peggy's Cove. I don't know if it's like, night clubbing, if you're like into that stuff, or going to bars, bar hopping or whatever, like, some stuff like that. And yeah, it pretty much really helped me, that group of friends, just, help me coming out of my shell. And also being in the Iranian society, I felt like trying to, because we are all like international students, a way to connect with people would be like maybe like through your if you're like a group of people from the same place, through parading your culture, and making people like information about like where you come from, and these are the stuff we do, and these are the, like just being a part of the student society of like my like home country people, made it easier for me to connect with people all around, like Dalhousie, and with people from other cultures, and students and everyone else.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And just to add to that, I think I really do agree with the aspect of getting involved to be able to adapt to Canadian culture, because when you put yourself out there and you make friends from different countries, you have that solid group that you could go out with to explore Halifax. And I'm not saying that you cannot explore Halifax alone. I mean, like, there are times where I do it alone because alone time is good. But when you're with friends and you make those memories, those first few memories that you have in Halifax, those are very valuable, because you're in your first year in the program, and you're also an international student. And it's also a way to meet local people. So, because like for me, if I want to meet someone new, it's better to meet locals with a group of friends than it is when I'm alone. But it might be different for other people. And also, adding on to the fact of reaching out to your societies, because if you don't know anyone in Halifax, then your source of connections would probably be the society leaders, right? So you can contact us, or you could like ask us questions on which society you can contact for your specific region of the world, or for your specific interests. And yeah, just taking that first step would be what helps me most.
Thanks, everyone. It's really informative. And I think we're all on the same boat, where we're just trying to find a community to, feel like home, and also just experience new things, but also have the drive to, just everyone's on the same boat. And I think most people can relate to that. So, quick fire round. What are some things you love about living in Halifax that you would totally recommend for someone to come down and just experience it once, or get everyone excited about choosing Halifax and even Dal?
Well, one thing I absolutely love about Halifax is that you don't have to drive too far from the city to actually go someplace nice. For example, hiking. I love going to Herring Cove. Over there, there's a nice hiking spot, and it's beautiful wilderness. It's on a little cliff by the ocean, and it's absolutely gorgeous.
Nice.
And yeah.
I think for me, going about accessibility, because I'm still trying to get my driving license. So my friend and I started this thing where we'll go on walks every morning, and I think I've pretty much covered the south end, not really the north end, but we were walking on like at Citadel Hill, we're going down to the waterfront, looking at all the shops before everything opens. And before COVID, I think it was or during COVID when everyone was still like quiet and at home, like we could just, you know, look at the city and see it at its like peaceful state. And it's very different from seeing it when it's like alive, like on a Friday night or when it's busy on the weekends. So I think that's something that I really like, and just walking around the nature itself is wonderful.
Well, similar things here, but like I really like how the city is small because my hometown is very big and I need to like I don't have driver's license, so I need to ask my parents to drive me somewhere or just take subways. But like Halifax, I can just walk everywhere and get anything I want to buy. So I
Mhm.
think, yeah, how well, like when I say how small, it sounds that negative, but like for me, that was like that's the best point, how small the city is.
Some things I love about living in Halifax, like the other members have said, is how everything's just very accessible walking. There, I like this summer, every single week, I try to walk with my friends to the waterfront. It's a 20-minute walk from where I am. Um, and you should really try that out. Like trying walking from like one end of the waterfront to the other end is a nice walk. Um, and in the summers, there's usually, so if you like dancing, there's also like free salsa dances on the waterfront too. So that's an activity you could do. The farmers market is also a nice place to go to if you're not planning to buy stuff there, but it's still a nice place to go to. Trying at least to go to the Citadel Hill, visiting the museums and seeing the different touristy attractions. I mean, you'll have a lot of time in your program, but it's good to be involved. So start early, I guess.
And what I liked about Halifax the most was that, oh yeah, its size. I can say it was not too big for you to get lost in it, and it was not too small for you to get bored in it. And there was like a lot of the act. It's like a really good mix of city life and also nature, and going out, like hiking, and a lot of biking rages, and even the city parts around downtown is like all bike accessible right now. And like there's never like there isn't much of any activities that you might miss out. Yeah, like the only thing maybe, yeah, Drake doesn't come perform concerts here, I don't think. But anything else, like that you want to do, it's really, and it's easy, you can get around. I never like got my license, but I never like needed to get a car. I just went everywhere with like the bus. Like there is nowhere, like in Halifax, that you can get like through two buses. Like I never had to get like three consecutive buses to go get places. And yeah, it's the coziness of it that I really liked, being a small town kid myself.
Great. Thanks everyone for sharing. So, um, I think the main takeaway is just getting involved. Culturally, it might seem like a big shock to some of us, but there are different ways that Dell can help you get involved. You can contact different cultural societies, or even the DSU has events. So I'm going to be posting a few links on the chat box, and these are places to go to look at events to get involved, and even the student events calendar for both Halifax and Truro campus. There are volunteer opportunities, job opportunities, and also student societies, like the cultural ones, or even just volunteering ones, or even like interest groups, like there's dancing. I know there's like anime societies, and just anything that you can think of. Do check them out, and I'll open the floor to my team if there's anything else that you want to add, or little bits of advice to give incoming international students?
I'd say before coming to Canada, you should get if you can, or if you can ask a friend to get access to a good computer or phone or whatever to be able to contact your family, because I find that's the biggest issue with coming to Canada, because sometimes my family back home, I'm unable to contact them just due to technical issues or the internet either here or there.
That's a good one. Yeah, I agree with that. Anyone else? Okay, we can move on to some questions from the chat box, and let's see if
One question that a student put out to me was, I'm not sure if the executives would know this, but what's sports like at Dal? Anyone?
like sports teams.
Sports, intramurals, like varsity teams, like if
So Dal's basketball team is pretty good. We always win all the Atlantic championships, and yeah, we have really good players.
Yeah.
Yeah, our basketball team would be the strongest.
Woo.
Yeah, we have a really solid basketball team. Yeah, actually, I worked part-time as security, and I was working security at the matches they had for the Atlantic championships in Scotiabank Center, and it was they dominated, really good.
Nice.
Yeah, it's really a joy to watch them. Yeah.
There are a lot of sports at Dell. So basically, whatever sport you want, you can probably find it at Dell. For example, one of the questions was track and field. There's track and field. There's soccer. There's a lot of other sports. There's hockey too. And if you can't find a sport that you like, you can always go to Dalplex, and you can start your own sports team if you want to, if you have enough people to join, definitely. And you can also, if you have a lot of questions about what kinds of sports and when to sign up during different seasons, you can definitely go to Dalplex and you can ask them, because they have all of the information that you'll need about sports at Dal.
Great.
Do they have societies related to sports? I was joining dance society before. It was very nice. There's so many beginners doing any level. I wasn't in advanced, but I know there's 3 levels. So yeah, those societies will help you to join some teams, I guess.
Yeah, and I also remember during the society expos, there was usually 2 very active societies that really had very cool gears at the society expo. I think it was the Dal Esports Society and the Dal Boating Club. So if you haven't tried those before, you could always try it for the first time at Dal. Yeah. And I also shared a link of the list of the intramurals and sports clubs at Dal. So in the group chat. So if you want to look at that, just have a look.
Okay, let's move on to the chat box. I think some questions are answered, but we can just, go through them and talk about it. So someone asked about the weather. Is there even the sun sometimes apart from the summer? What's your experience?
Yeah, there's definitely sun. I mean, it comes out every 5 minutes, I guess. You have to check, but yeah, it's the weather's really moody, so you can never really say if it's one day was cloudy or one specific day was generally sunny. You can say, yeah, Tuesday was generally sunny, but you can never really say, yeah, it was full on just sun, or because yeah, it's a really unpredictable weather, as we mentioned. And yeah, there is like, you can never really tell. But yeah, there is sun. There is a good amount of, clouds and rain, and snow, even like snow. Yeah, less snow now, but
And
yeah,
winds.
it's really, yeah. The
Yeah,
the
it's been
ocean
raining.
really, balances the weather. It doesn't really get too extreme in Halifax.
Yeah.
With regards to weather conditions.
But we do
So
get hurricanes,
Mm.
so
Mm.
Hurricanes when?
we've had hurricanes.
We had one last fall.
Last
yeah,
fall,
Last
yeah.
fall?
Hurricane
Hurricane?
Dorian.
Let me just
Mm.
definition of hurricane. Yeah, sorry, my English is not that good.
The storm alerts that you get, that's, yeah, on the
Oh,
weather
that
app.
bad?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Why
It
can
was bad, but I think, like the whole city came together and then everything was pretty okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, the waterfront was flooded. Yeah. So,
Mm.
Oh, and another thing, the power tends to go up in Halifax a lot.
Oh,
Yeah, right.
power, yeah.
yes. I agree.
Yeah, the weather gets a little bit disturbed, the power suffers first.
Oh yeah.
But one thing I remember is like I think it was the day we had hurricane, but like it was blackout whole night, and I was living in residence, so I had like lights, but my friends and I went to outside that day at night,
Wow.
and it was good memory because like there was no light, so I can see like stars and moon, and that was very beautiful. I still remember that day. So I guess like it's good to have blackouts sometimes. I mean, I don't like it, but at least I can see stars and
It's like the silver lining on the black cloud. Like,
yeah.
we'll find the joy in all this
Mm.
troubles. Okay, let's see what else is there. Um,
Someone said, sorry, do you want to
yeah,
go
go
first?
ahead. No, you go ahead.
Okay. Someone said something about like finding part-time jobs. Is it easy? I mean, I can say something about that because I've worked
Sure.
several jobs at Dell. So Dell has a, what do you call it? It has a job portal. It's called My Career, and most times, like at the beginning of a semester, they usually upload job postings. So one departments that I worked at was the registrar's office, College of Continuing Education, the International Center, and Dell Security also hires student ambassadors. But other job opportunities on campus would probably be like at the athletic center, so like the Dellplex. But if you're in Truro, the Langille Center, and like specific departments would also want students from their specific programs. And the DSU also hires students and residents. So just look at the My Career job portal and you'll find all the jobs there. Yeah.
And for some classes, in some departments, you can also become a teacher's assistant. And if there are some classes that actually pay you to become a teacher's assistant, I think in the chemistry department that happens. And also, if you want to work in a lab, for example, I know I worked as a lab technician 2 years ago, and it was pretty fun and made pretty much minimum wage, and it was part-time. But you do have to ask around for to a lot of professors in your department to see if they have a lab and they need technicians or some help, and if they have paid jobs available in their lab. But it's definitely very fun. But you would have to ask. But I think it's worth it.
And someone asked, what about part-time jobs, like to get some money for surviving? So it really depends on the part-time jobs that you have. Like on campus, I know like in Halifax or Nova Scotia, the minimum wage right now, I think is $12, 11.55, 11.55. Yeah, so there are some jobs that will give you minimum wage, and there are some jobs, student jobs that I know of, they pay in the range from 11.55 to like $15. It depends, and then you do your budgeting based
It's
on
$12.55.
12.55,
Yeah.
12.55 to $15. That's the rate. Yeah.
Yeah, first, Emilia Cordova asked that if there is a society for Latin Americans or South Americans. I looked, and there's a Dal Spanish Society, and it pretty much represents all the Spanish-speaking countries, you know, in their society. And actually, yeah, I'll just write down their Instagram page address for you on the comments here. And yeah, if any, I'm not sure if there's any specific, you know, Latin American societies, but you know, this is there.
Nice.
Yeah, you can even, they're on Facebook
Yeah.
as well. I'm just gonna look it up. Spanish Society. I'll let you know. Any other questions?
I've got one about residence. So, wanted to know about what residence life is like in Dell, how many people stay in a room. So, how many did you guys ever stay in res, and what your experience was like?
I could answer that. So it depends on the residence that you go to. For example, for me, I lived in Sheriff Hall, Howe Hall, and LMP, so Le Merchant Place. And so there will be rooms where you stay individually, and those are single rooms. And then there are also double rooms. So two single beds in one room, or a bunk bed. And yeah, it depends on where you are. I know that Sheriff Hall, for me at least, had the best dining hall food ever. So yeah, if that you're looking, someone also asked something about food, and with residence, Sheriff Hall has the best food. And residence life. Someone wants to answer that question?
I can answer that. So my first year, I live in residence, and like most of my friends that I have now is from residence, like who I met in the residence, like dining hall or wherever I was. Yeah, I guess like living in residence, like in first year is good idea or good things to do. You can find like many people in residence, and I always studied with them in like study room. I forgot how they call, but yeah, like I can just visit my friend's room whenever I want to. So I guess that's a good point, living in residence. But yeah, sometimes it's a bit loud, but it's still good.
And if you don't, sorry,
No, go ahead. Go ahead.
And it is, some residents are a bit loud, so, but there is an option when you're applying for residence to opt for a quiet floor, and that's usually the best option if you're not into loud spaces. So yeah, and there's also I think there are some residence communities. For example, if you're in engineering, Howe Hall would have like the first year engineering. That's what I know about from like my first year, but like the upper year engineering students would be in Gerard Hall, and that's like a residence community. So I can link in the chat box what residence communities are available to everyone. And yeah, and also, how do I put this? Rooms, you stay with the same gender. So if if you're female, you stay with someone of the same gender as you. Yeah.
As a roommate.
Yeah, as a roommate.
Mm,
Yeah.
There are also like some parts like in was it in a what was it, Sheriff, that has like Newcombe, I think
Oh
Newcombe,
yeah, yeah,
like
yeah.
called, yeah, it was just like all girl, like it's a section, just like, you know, all the girls are in that section. But yeah, pretty much everywhere else around the, like, you know, residences co-ed.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And yeah, pretty much, yeah. And also Gerard Hall, yeah, you said because it's in the Sexton campus, which is like, you know, where all the engineering classes are. Yeah, like, you know, most engineering students, you know, it's better for them to be in the Gerard because they will be really close to their classes. Well, not really first year, because first year students, like, you know, have a lot of their classes at the main campus.
Yeah.
But yeah, second year when they, you know, go through like, you know, more specific engineering courses, like, you know, all their classes pretty much would be in the Sexton campus. So, and that Gerard Hall would be like, you know, pretty much suitable for them. And for all the other traditional residences where it has like, you know, single rooms and, you know, double rooms or bunk beds, like Howe Hall and the Sheriff Hall and Risley and Lamarchant, they're all on like, you know, around the Studley campus, the main campus.
Yeah.
Yeah, Risley Hall only has single rooms, but Howe Hall, Sheriff Hall, and Sheriff Hall has like, you know, they also have double rooms, and even Howe Hall also has like, you know, rooms where bunk beds, like really cheap. Yeah, it's just like, yeah, really like, you know, old school. And Sheriff, like Lamarchant is actually like, you know, with different. It has like suites. You can have so there's like a couple of options. You can have one, like, you know, just one bedroom with a sharing bathroom with another bedroom. Or if you're not like, you know, comfortable like, you know, sharing a bathroom with another, you know, room with your neighbor, they also have suites, like, you know, 2 bedroom suites, 3 bedroom suites, and like, you know, 4 bedroom suites. So you would have like, you know, basically like an apartment that has like, you know, 4 rooms, so you can,
Yeah.
you know, live with like, you know, poor people. And it's like, you know, really uh really good environment. Like, yeah, they actually say not 2 rooms are like the same in Lamarchand, is what I mean. Don't take my word for it, you know. I'm not sure. I haven't been to every room, but it's what they, yeah, it's like really, I think it's the most expensive residence there too. And I don't know, like, do you guys have any thing about the mini res? The mini res are the houses, right? Like the
Yeah.
houses around the campus. So it's like what, like 3, 4 bedrooms, and it's just a house.
I think it's kind of like, giving incoming students like life off campus, because it's not maintained by RAs, or
Mhm.
you don't have like the traditional, like I'm walking through like a corridor in a dorm room, but you still are kind of under the protection of like Dell Res and also Dell Security. But it is, I think from a friend, it was more like a like off campus, like, so you do have like maybe a 3 bedroom apartment and a kitchen, and
But
it's
very
in a
close to
house.
campus.
Yeah, very close. I think it might be like on South Street, like,
Yeah, on South Street or on what was it? Mm,
I'm not so
what
sure
was
if
it,
it's on
Edward
Roby,
Street?
but
Like
yeah.
right, yeah, right around the corner. So it's like, there is no like, you know, supervisor, like an RA, like someone that has to answer to, like, you know, is there any supervision by any,
Yeah, I
like,
think so. Yeah, in
no?
Maneras, yeah.
Nice, very well.
But
So yeah,
things are gonna change this year with COVID, so I
oh yeah.
think it's residence is something to look forward to. I definitely recommend. I stayed in Hal for 2 years because it was pretty safe, and there's food and it's convenient after a long day, and you just want to grab a quick bite or ice cream, and your friends are there.
Mm-hmm.
But with COVID, I think there are going to be different regulations, and like the Res Life team, and I think as incoming students, you can just stay, just check your emails, because they'll probably be sending for the updates on like how to quarantine, I mean self isolate when you come in, and what residence you'll be in. So things to look forward to.
Yeah. And with the COVID situation, you know, it's like we are, you know, pretty much taking it as it goes. You know, we're not really sure what's going to happen. Like all of the, like, towards right now, like a couple of days ago, everything, like nobody had like a really firm idea how's the like, semester is going to go, like, just really vaguely pointing at it. Yeah, it's going to be like, mostly online and all that. But, as we get closer, it gets more cleared up, and, just, keep posted with all the services, and like, on the social media. And yeah, pretty much we can go through this, hopefully.
So we're gonna like kind of on the topic of housing, not that we're just only talking about housing, but um, has anyone lived off campus? Like, what's the transition from on campus to off campus like? And do share.
Well, I haven't really lived off on campus, sorry, but I've been living off campus, not really on campus, but I do visit my friends who do live on campus, and I find living on campus is a bit more different. I know I visited my friend in Howell, and the rooms were quite small. She had a single room, but my other friend who lived off campus but still around Dalhousie, so on Seymour Street, there are small bachelor apartments which you can get. It's pretty nice. It's a bit bigger than a dorm, and you also have a kitchen. But they told me you also have to share a bathroom there with people, so that is a downside. But at the same time, it is a bigger room, and you do get your own kitchen.
Interesting.
Mm.
Anyone else?
I mean, I was at residence for the first 2 years, like first year Gerard and the second year Risley, and pretty much, and then I had to move my family from Fredericton to here, so I had to, like, we moved to Clayton Park, which is like, a little bit farther county, and it's really good. Like, the good thing is that the housing, like, near the downtown area, and then, like, close to campus, it's like, a lot more expensive. Like, if you want to get like a good apartment, it would, like, at least, like, cost like, $1,300, like, as a group. But like, once you get like, a bit farther, in the Clayton Park area, or like, towards like, all the way, like, really far, like, in the Roby, when it goes like, far away from the downtown, you can get more reasonable pricing for like, the apartments. And yeah, the only downside was that, it was far, yeah, a little bit from campus. Like, I had 8:30 lectures in the morning that I have to wake up at 7 for, and just,
Ouch.
take the bus. And it was, yeah, I mean, the first like 2-3 weeks was like, a little bit of a hassle, but then, you get used to it. And, being a morning person, actually, it improves your life bit by bit. It's a pain in the butt, but you'll get used to it. But yeah, there's like, good sides to it.
Well, talking about residence and living off campus, I guess if you want to cook things for yourself, like if you have specific things that you want to eat, I think living off campus is better. Like residents, they have kitchen, but like they don't have tools, so it's a bit hard to cook for yourself. Like so, whenever I feel like eating Japanese sari, Japanese food, when living in residence, I had to go out and eat or do some events as sari. But like when I started living off campus, it was so I have my own kitchen, so I can cook whatever I want. So I guess
Yeah, I
that
think
depends. Like,
Yeah, I think for me, I just moved out because of COVID, and it kind of got like I had to buy a lot of stuff to in order for me to feel like I'm cooking home cooked food, like soy sauce, like the different kinds of seasoning, and you don't realize how much it takes to get like home cooked food. And I think we'll be touching on that in a later webinar. But someone asked in the group chat, like, what about food? So what's your experience? Any good grocery stores to recommend, or like where's the best place to get cheap food? I know the Dal cart has some like alliances with a few places like Triple A's, Peter Pitt. They're all within walking distance in campus. So your Dal card does act like like a debit or credit card. So you put in money and you can grab quick food with your friends, and it's pretty convenient around campus. Yeah, and residence does, if you do stay in residence, you're required to have a meal plan. So in that way, food is kind of covered. And for me, I'd recommend the freedom plan because you can just walk in and grab like a snack, and you're not so worried about how many meals am I left with if you're hungry after like a long day of studying. Does anyone else want to share about food?
Well, about food, many societies, like cultural societies, are doing events. They offer free food. So if you are interested in some cultures, you can visit those events.
And
Yeah,
yeah,
definitely. Oh, sorry.
go ahead. Yeah, sorry.
Definitely. The Arabic Society, sometimes we have food events where we just get different people make foods from different countries of the Middle East and around the Middle East, and we just have a big potluck, and it's really fun. We were going to have that at the end of the year, but due to COVID, we really couldn't. So maybe next year. So we'll see.
Who's first? And yeah, I mean, one thing about like, one life hack is like a lot of the societies, like, not just, international societies, like any other societies, for example, like, graduate society or like, any other like, I don't know, microbiology society, engineering society, whatever, like for a lot of their general meetings, one way that they like, attract people to come there, they offer like, food and drinks, like, a slice of pizza and a drink, and to attract a little bit of a crowd. So like sometimes if you're like you might find yourself in the around the area of the campus, and you see like you keep like they on the social media, it's like, yeah, we have a general meeting at this building, like in the campus, we have pizza, you can show up. And yeah, it would be like a good way like to get free food, I guess. It's like if you keep an eye out.
And someone's asking about jogging. Does anyone jog or exercise? Or
uh
any
Jogs and
recommendations?
runs, as a Benjamin.
Yeah,
I mean, like a big place. I mean, yeah, there are like in Dalplex, if like, there's like a round thing for like track and field and stuff. But if you're like jogging or running like outside, it's like there's a lot of good places. Like Point Pleasant Park is like within walking reach, and
yeah.
it's like, right by the ocean, and it's big, vast. Like, you can jog all you want and run, and like people are there like walking their dogs, nodding at you. It's like a really good, really like very refreshing time if you want to like jog and for long hours. And also can bike there too. Yeah, like jogging and running, yeah, I don't think, yeah, you would have enough space for that, don't worry about it.
And the e-scooter things at the waterfront. You can
Yeah, waterfront. Yeah,
take
I
them
mean,
anywhere.
yeah, you could jog at waterfront. Yeah, sure. I mean, sometimes like it's if it's not too crowded, but yeah, during like the weekdays, where it's like yeah, for sure. Because waterfront is like have a lot of like stores, and like small businesses there. So there's always like people there. So if you try to run, you may hit people on the way. But yeah, the parks, yeah, it's definitely a good thing. Like your choice for like doing jogging and running.
I think the public gardens are pretty good too.
Public gardens are good.
Yeah, those
Yeah,
are really good.
there's simple. Yeah, within walking range again. It's really good.
Citadel Hill is a challenge because
Oh
you're
yeah,
going
Cedar.
up.
Oh, Cedar is beautiful.
Yeah, the sunsets there are good. If anyone wants to check that out. Let's see the chat. Does anyone else have anything to add? Anything with residents or food? Or let's see. Okay, the next webinar will be hopefully next Friday at the same time. There seems to be a really great turnout, so I think we'll hold it at 9 a.m. and 5 p.m. at the same time. And the next webinar will be about language barriers, talking about, kind of like what we've talked about today, but more on just conversation and how we integrated ourselves in and our personal experience. So stay tuned for that.
Yeah, I just go have to find it. Oh my god. My
We can
desktop.
always
Yes.
post it on our Instagram, on the Instagram,
Follow,
right?
Yeah, follow.
Yeah, follow us.
International. Follow Dell International and even on Facebook.
Oh yeah, we'll post it there.
Yeah. So I guess if there aren't any questions, thanks for coming. It's our first session. Yes, if you want to promote your club's executive members, you can plug in the chat box.
The chat
All
box.
right.
I just put, the link for our the Iranian Society. If you guys want to check us out on Facebook and Instagram, we normally have three like big events in the year, like one for the Persian New Year or Nowruz, one for we have a Yalda night, and also a Persian Valentine, or as we call it, Sapandar Mazgan. Well, with the COVID situation, we're not sure how far we can go with holding events, but hopefully by 2021, maybe we could be able to. By then, the restrictions fall over. We have a vaccine, and we can have some events in the winter, hopefully.
Yeah.
And yeah, stay tuned.
Sounds good. So thanks everyone. Feel free to leave if you have other things planned for your day. Have a good one.
Guys.